Radio Tomada, 87.9 FM, broadcasting live and recording for our archive. And we are at the Pathways Indigenous Arts Festival at Buffalo Thunder in Poake, New Mexico. And we have a guest today, Justine from the Red Nation. She's got a red media press pass on, looks very official. And welcome, Justine.
Thank you.
I have this little flyer here about Red Nation, and I know about Red Nation, and you do great, intense work about land back and Indigenous rights and decolonization and things like that. So, but you can talk, if that's what you want to talk about, please do it. If you want to talk about anything else, do that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so I have a booth set up in the nonprofit section here at Pathways. I have a table set up for Red Media and the Red Nation. The Red Nation is the activist organization, Indigenous activist organization. We are leftists, socialists, feminists, anti-imperialists, and we have done a lot of advocacy and activism in New Mexico for, I want to say it's been, I'm thinking of the other organization, over 10 years.
Yeah, based out of Albuquerque, is that right?
Yes, originally, but, the core members of the group have all kind of been spread out, so
right.
We have only a couple members in Albuquerque these days, but a lot of us moved back to the res and elsewhere, and, yeah.
Justine, would you like to define anti-colonialism?
Sure.
Or not anti. What's the word you use?
I'm
sorry. I get anti-colonialism. Decolonization.
Same thing.
Well, when I hear the word decolonization, it sounds like a forward action.
It is.
And so that's what I mean. You have the history, and it's a strange, mostly ugly, although sometimes things from the past have been beneficial too. It's hard to sometimes wrap your mind around that, but it's mixed. So, but I'm talking about, where do we go from here?
Right. So we wrote a book. The Red Nation wrote a book, and Red Media published it with Common Notions, and it's called The Red Deal: Indigenous Action to Save Our Earth. And the big line of that book is decolonization or extinction. And we, one of our principles is it's not just a native thing. It's not just a native issue. Decolonization is decolonization for all. We live under the boots of US Imperialism. It's a global thing, over 900 bases across the world. It affects everybody, not just Indigenous people. The US military is the world's largest global polluter, and the Red Deal is a plan to save our Earth. And what the Red Deal actually is, it's in three parts. Part 1, end the occupation. Part 2, heal our bodies. Part 3, heal our planet. And so the political ideas of the Red Deal is we create a just transition into our version of socialism, really, and ending the occupation. That means divesting from U.S. imperialism. Imagine if we defunded just one of those 800 military bases, just one of them. What could we do with that money? We could heal our bodies. We could heal our planet. We can fund education. We can fund housing. We can fund the cleanup needed to heal the earth. And it's that's kind of like the forward action of decolonization as the Red Nation sees it.
I love all of these ideas, and also the way that you explain it.
I think
clarifies it a lot.
I think when people outside of the movement hear the word decolonization or land back, it invokes a lot of fear and sort of these knee-jerk reactions like, what about me? I grew up, I was born here, I didn't move here, and the way you're describing it, it's basically righting wrongs of the past, and more importantly, addressing the wrongs that our government is actively engaged in now. And that's not just towards Native people, it's towards people in Gaza and supporting that war and all sorts of things. And it's a socialist view which is based on pre-colonial indigenous values and taking care of the community, taking care of the earth, the air, the water, and all of those things. And for all peoples.
I think that word, I like the word pre-colonial indigenous values.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot, as Matthew was saying, socialism, knee-jerk.
Yeah.
People are afraid of it because just like, same with the word anarchy, which doesn't mean chaos. It actually is very in line with Native indigenous methods of creating policy for all. So these words make a huge difference, but I don't mind at decolonization. It hits me like, what does that mean? As opposed to other ways of putting it. I just want to cut short to say what you said is offering solutions. I hear some great. So what if one base was closed? Do we need 900 bases, for God's sake? We probably maybe need a few. I mean, that's the reality of things, but 900? Oh my God. The money that goes into that, what we could do with that. So I love what you put forth, and I want to thank you for that. And I would like you to speak more.
Yeah, well, a couple things are coming to mind when you're talking about that, but I'll briefly mention when we were talking about the Red Deal, we used to say, what if the US military had to fundraise for its next missile instead of children having to fundraise for their own education? Imagine a world like that. And, I know decolonization and land back and anti-imperialism do trigger a lot of knee-jerk reactions, but the reality is when we're talking about these methods of decolonization, we're actually just talking about it's really like just one big act of care for people and for our other than human relatives across the world and the planet itself.
I love the term non-human relatives, by the way, which is at the heart of much, not just indigenous wisdom, all the wisdoms. But go on, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I was thinking of some Lakota scholars as you were talking. One of the books that we curate, was written by one of our members of our organization, Dr. Nick Estes. He wrote a book that's titled "Our History is the Future." And that sort of theme comes up over and over again when we're talking about decolonization. And I also thought about Elizabeth Cookland, who a Lakota scholar who had said herself that socialism fits neatly within the values of indigenous people. And, indigenous people themselves also have these knee-jerk reactions. But, the Red Nation, we have done our best job to sort of explain how we see decolonization and how we really emphasize this act of care.
Would you say, once again, the full title of the book,
Our History is the Future.
And it was written by
Dr. Nick Estes.
And the other person you mentioned?
Elizabeth Cookland. She's a Lakota scholar. I can't remember which book it is that she said that.
And how does she spell her last name?
COOK -LYNN.
Oh, good.
Cookland.
Cookland, sure.
Yeah. And I think, also when we talk about indigenous values and indigenous ways of government, if we want to call it that, or different, indigenous peoples are a hugely diverse group. Even just in North America, there's many different groups with different languages, different ceremonies, different life ways, different diets, different traditions. And so it can be tricky saying this is sort of like a pan-indigenous value. But I think there are things, and I think what you're saying is there are things that tie these groups together, even through their difference, and
I would also say we all have indigeneity?
Well, let's talk about indigeneity itself.
Yeah.
Because indigeneity is kind of the definition is sort of twisted into this like cultural, racial, even like ethno sort of word, when it's not. Indigeneity is simply a relationship to settler colonialism. That's why Palestinians are indigenous, because they have a relationship to settler colonialism. The only true pan-indigenous thing is the relationship to settler colonialism. And what I mean by that is I'm indigenous because I come from a nation that was colonized by the U.S., Spanish Empire, Mexican Empire, and the U.S.
Right. Where are you? Are you from around here?
Yeah, I'm from the pueblos of Acoma, Santa Clara, and Tesuque. Santa Clara and Tesuque are real close to here.
Sure.
Yeah,
as close as it gets.
One of the six Tewa Pueblos, two of the six Tewa Pueblos. But when I talk about indigeneity, I always say that like I've actually, you can quote me having said, like, I actually aspire to not be indigenous. I actually aspire to just be a person of my nation. Indigenous people have, or indigenous nations have their own ways of relating and nationhood.
Right. And
that's ultimately what indigeneity is it's describing the nation that has been colonized by the U.S. So I wouldn't, had settler colonialism never happened, indigeneity wouldn't exist. We would just be, Tesuque Pueblo, Tesuque.
And settler colonialism has happened, largely happening now by the U.S., but also by European nations, Portugal and Israel and England and France and Italy and Japan, and I mean
Russia's doing it big time right now.
So there's a lot of, and it's a power dynamic. It's nations that have power and the desire to expand beyond the borders of where they come from and have power over other people's and make those other people behave the way they think they should behave, and to a large degree exploit those people. European colonialism was based on East India Company and all these things in India of like, how can we get the resources out of these places, or the Spanish coming here looking for gold and other things, and slavery
and genocide. Like the ultimate goal of settler colonialism is to become the new native, is to eradicate, is to genocide the actual indigenous people and nations in order to become what they perceive as native. Right.
Yeah. And then you see that colonial project happening more extremely in some countries than others. Like if you look at Mexico, the population is a real blend of indigenous peoples and Spanish peoples, and there are people there who identify with their Spanish ancestors and people who identify with their indigenous ancestors locally, and people who identify with the blend of it all. That's much more active and alive than it is in the United States. And we're fortunate to live in New Mexico, which is sort of where there are indigenous cultures and native cultures in this area that are intact. Not that they're the same as they were 1,000 years ago, but they've have cultural values and traditions and belief systems and ways of living that have endured through Spanish colonialism, through U.S. colonialism of the last 150 years. And I think that's a huge value and resource for here.
Weren't the first colonizers the Greeks?
I mean, I don't know. I just had somebody
maybe before that too.
I just had a couple non-native folks come up to my booth and tell me how the first colonizers was actually the humanoids against the Neanderthals.
Oh, I've heard that too.
I guess there's an article in National.
But There is an element of truth.
But
right?
you know, at the end of the day, I try not to get caught up in the semantics of indigeneity, because then we do get to weird places like that, right? At the end of the day, what we really want is just recognition of our nationhood as native nations, because we are the caretakers of the land, right? We know the land. We have values that caretake for everybody. I mean, ultimately, the ultimate goal of our, decolonization is just to provide people with their basic needs, their material needs.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you feel about non-Indigenous people adopting the heart of the philosophy?
Well, that's the goal.
Okay.
You know, that's how we say, that's what one of the core principles in the Red Deal is, that it's not just a native issue, and that, you know, the Red Deal ultimately is a political plan for anybody, any party, anyone running an election. You know, it's a political platform for everybody.
And this gets back to what you were saying earlier about, I don't know how you put it, but kind of casting a little doubt on that. The semantics, the word of that. When I think you said something like, ultimately you want us to see, I don't know how you put it, but just a larger picture.
Exactly.
So that we can all be caring, that we can all have kindness and collaboration.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, that's why we don't get caught up on the semantics.
Well,
you know,
I'm
we
glad
are an Indigenous organization, but we're not. You know, a lot of native orgs do center on the cultural stuff, and the Red Nation. You know, that's something that we value on a personal level, but politically, we're more engaged in like internationalist politics in the way that our politics are for everybody. And we really look to other Indigenous groups in the global South that lead us, who have achieved, you know, some of these, you know, more socialist values.
Would you
structures.
name a couple off the top of your head?
I mean, I always think of Bolivia when I think of what a path towards decolonization looks like, because they were able to achieve a plurinationalist state. Also, Evo Morales was the world's first Indigenous president, and almost nobody talks about him. And I wish more Indigenous people in the global North knew about him, because what he did was establish a plurinationalist state that has these nations within the Bolivian government. If the Bolivian government sends out a notice, it has to be published in every language of each nation.
Right, and he refused all the trappings of wealth and power. You know, drove around in his little VW bug while he was president and lived in the same house, and was a real inspiration to people in that way.
And actually, I'm so glad you mentioned his name. I mean, we need to have, otherwise, sometimes all this seems theory, but when you can point at a guy, Evo Morales, everybody.
It's possible. It's within reach. These aren't just ideas. These material demands are certainly achievable. And it can be, you know, unfortunately, within the belly of the beast, that is the U.S., we have to, it does feel like an impossible task. It does.
Especially
but it's not.
This year, it feels more daunting than ever.
It's so defeating. But, you know, that is what it means to be a revolutionary. You know, the Red Nation, we consider ourselves revolutionary socialists.
Yeah.
And, you know, the hope of revolution alone is the job of a revolutionary. So, like, I have to wholeheartedly believe that this is something that can be achieved. And when I read the Red Deal, it really just offers, like, a material clarity that it is something that can be achieved. And so I stay believing in the Red Deal. I stay believing in Bolivia. I stay believing in all of our comrades across the world who are trying to achieve, you know, socialist ideals.
The Red Deal is a book
Yes.
And how can we get it if we want to get it?
So you can purchase the book with Common Notions, commonnotions.org. Or I'm going to shamelessly pitch
please
Patreon.
pitch it all. Yeah.
If you sign up before the Red Media Patreon, we will mail you a copy of the Red Deal.
And you go to patreon.com/redmediapr.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's also, you have a podcast, which Red Nation Podcast features discussions on Indigenous history, politics, and culture from a left perspective. I'm reading, obviously. Hosted by Nick Estes and Jen Marley, the Red Nation Podcast is also the home of Red Power Hour, hosted by Melanie Yazzie and Elena Ortiz. The podcast is produced and published by Red Media. Again, you can support that at patreon.com/redmediapr. And you can listen to the Red Nation Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and on the Red Nation YouTube channel.
Thank you. Yes, please listen to the Red Nation Podcast. We publish episodes every single week. Every Monday we have a new episode, which is like crazy.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
For us as a podcast, I know some podcast experts. We are ancient in terms of podcast years. We are running on 5 years old, 4 million downloads.
Wow,
and,
that's fantastic.
We hit a specific niche of the podcast market. So we do have a lot of supporters on Patreon who really support the mission of Red Media and what we have to say. But I highly recommend the Red Nation Podcast. Even myself, as somebody within the organization, I learn from the podcast every week. Just this week, we published Nick Estes on Manifest Destiny. And this is in reference to just the whatever political hoo-ha is going on right now. Somebody shared the Manifest Destiny lady again. I'm showing him a picture of our YouTube thumbnail, and it's
from that Renaissance painting.
Yeah, that famous
of
painting
Venus.
the famous painting.
Botticelli.
Of Manifest Destiny, and instead of her, she's wearing a Trump hat, and instead of her going west and colonists following her, she's actually floating in space.
I see.
Because that's another frontier of Manifest Destiny too, is space. That's why.
Right, with Elon Musk and people like that.
Yeah.
Colonize the moon, colonize Mars.
Manifest Destiny. Who do you know who came up with that?
That's a European colonial thing.
But somebody must have.
The church.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church.
The church.
Yes.
And
it's the God-given right to colonize, see the shining sea.
Yes.
The white man's burden.
Yes.
Go and colonize the world, and it's our destiny as white people. I'm not speaking, when I say we, I don't mean me.
But the church and capitalism working together, what a man. What power they have. But
we have a pope now. The last couple popes, the one before and this one, seem like they're moving in the right direction. For the Catholic Church, given its history, it's nice to see. The other thing I wanted to say is the horrors that we're experiencing since the beginning of the year with the Trump administration and what they are doing is horrific. There is a chance that it will wake the lefty liberals out of their slumber to actually get more activated and active in making changes that have been needed even during Obama and Biden and Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton and all of that. So
this goes back to something that you had said that Matthew is pointing out, and I believe it's very important. And you had talked about, I don't know how you put it, but seeing the altogether that we are. Because part of the left's problem is they're fighting each other, which is dumb because over little issues, and you're talking about something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't consider I don't consider the Democrats as a left party.
Yeah, they're just left of the other party.
They're slightly left of center, if we can say that. But they're not. They're actually right wingers.
The center has moved.
Yeah,
so left of center doesn't mean a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, like if they're not talking about socialism in any kind of capacity, if they're not talking about anti-imperialism in any kind of capacity, it is not a left party.
Yeah, I thought there was some hope.
That's a good point.
Years ago with Bernie Sanders as a candidate, but that was quickly shut down by
Bernie's
others.
Fortunately still out there, but he's not.
He's a voice in the wilderness at this point.
Well, at this point.
If I'm allowed to use a biblical reference.
It's a poetic reference. That's the only good thing about the Bible is strange poetry.
Yeah. I mean, that's the capacity I can appreciate it in.
I really appreciate your clarity. And that's an understatement. You are very clear, and there's a warmth in your words, so that I don't feel I really don't feel any clash or something. I feel like you're really trying to reach as many people as possible. So unfortunately, this is only a 2-mile radius. But everybody, you'll be able to find and hear this on our website. We're tape recording everything, and we're going to put it up.
Amazing.
Yeah, if that's okay. Yeah, we have an archive of conversations.
Is it okay if we republish?
I can send you a link if you give me your information.
Absolutely.
And tell us your name one more time.
My name is Justine Teba from the Pueblos of Acoma, Santa Clara, and Tesuque. I'm with the Red Nation and Red Media. Great.
And so just so I can write it on when I publish it, how do you spell Teba?
Teba.
Oh, good. Just like it sounds.
Oh, man, I thought it was like the French,
Oh, yeah.
Thipeaux.
Yeah, with all kinds of extra letters.
Thank you so much, Justine. It's a real pleasure. And you're very articulate. And I just, echoing what Jerry said, also just brave to put yourself out and put yourself in front of people and explain what this is and why it's meaningful. And I know that's not always easy. I'm sure you run into people who are against what you're saying, people who are for what you're saying, and all kinds. And I know that when you're out in public doing this work, it's a challenge, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. I am so happy to have found you guys, and this is an awesome band. This is great stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, we do a lot of nice things in here. Not always radio stations, but all sorts of
other
things
too. I mean,
cool.
Keep in touch.
We're attempting in our own way to. I'm using the word broadly, but heal our social situation. Art can do that.
Yeah.
It's one, but it's indirect. What you're talking is more direct, and I'm really liking it.
Socialism is medicine. Check it out.
Okay. Is that somebody wrote this or something? Is it a meme or is this a book?
That's just off the dome.
That's you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just right out the dome.
Yeah.
Here's a card.
Awesome.
So send me your contact info, and I'll send you a link to download.
I have a card on me. Let me see.
That's fine. If you just email me through that, I'll write back to you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Justine say it again.
Teba.
Justine Teba here on Radio Tomada 87.9.